Good afternoon. Welcome to C&T Collectibles. I hope that you're doing well, and welcome to Right 3 Up and 3 Down, where we look at the top 3 risers and fallers over the past week in baseball card land. And so a lot of people do this, and I think it's important to pay attention to them because I talk a lot about price spikes. And so it seems like just kind of a fun deal, who went up the most, who went down the most. But we talk a lot about price spikes and how those are selling or buying opportunities. And this exercise, I think, can help identify players that might do that. So sure, it's just kind of a goofy thing and doesn't mean a whole lot, maybe. But if you look at guys that went up huge in 1 week, those might be your biggest, and you're holding that card, that might be worth a sell. And guys that go down a lot in a week might be worth a buy. So we'll just take a look at a few of the risers and fallers in baseball card land, and then we'll look at some players that had actual really good weeks on the field, so not just in baseball card land, and see if there's any opportunities there. So let's get started with our number 3 faller for the week, and that is the 2016 Bowman Draft Pete Alonso Chrome PSA 10. He's down 52% on the week here, so lightly traded, but yeah, it did fall. And I want to talk a little bit about Pete Alonso at the end here, because I think people are maybe missing a little something here, or maybe I'm missing something and you let me know. So you can see that this thing has just been kind of an upward trend, and then it broke that and starting to fall back down to an area where there's been a decent amount of buying. I mean, there hasn't been a ton of buying in this card, period. But you can see it's had a pretty healthy drop from nearly $200, $174 down to this $70 area here. So a lot of the baseball cards are starting to see that. And there's something else I want to point out at the end of this video as well. I saw this last summer and pointed it out, and I think we may be headed there again. But Pete Alonso, if you liked him in 2019, you should. I'm going to make my case on why you should probably like him again here today. So for what he's doing. All right, let's get into our number 3 riser for the week, and that is Dave Winfield. He is up. What is Dave Winfield up? 80%. So of course he is. I mean, he's a St. Paul native, former Golden Gopher. Absolutely worthy of every dollar of that 80% up. So you're looking at his last sale, $250 up to $450. This is the 1974 rookie. So he never spent a day in the minors. Dave Winfield. He was drafted in 3 sports. The Vikings drafted him. I don't know if the Lakers did. I don't remember who did for basketball, but he had an incredible intramural team with the Gophers. And then obviously we know what he did with baseball. Never spent a day in the minors, drafted in 3 sports professionally, and that's something that just doesn't happen too much here. So kind of this sideways range here, and moving his way back up. So you had a kind of this area here where it was a sell, and here you are again. And when you have these big moves, you see that it kind of reverses. So really a lot of sideways action. Maybe that just kind of continues for a little while yet here. All right, let's go to our number 2 faller for the week, and that is Glaber Torres. And this makes no sense to me because he just hit a home run. And so when you hit a home run, your card's supposed to triple overnight here. So that Glaber is getting rocked. I sure don't get it. So he's down 53% on the week here. Brutal last year, and just really not fixing things this year. And there's only so much Yankee cred is gonna take you here. So over the longer term, you can see that he's really broken out of this consolidation and is plumbing new lows. So it's difficult to say where this stops as you continue lower. If you keep making lower lows, you need to see a bunch of buyers step in to establish a level of support. And that's not happening for Mr. Torres at the time. All right, number 2 riser for the week. Oop, there we go. Donnie Baseball. Oh, yep, absolutely. Makes sense. Can't argue that at all here. So $40. This is the PSA 9. His 84 Fleer rookie. $40 and then up to $76. So a nice little rise there for Donnie Baseball. And this just kind of goes into what I saw last year when I first started doing some of these market videos with the charts and everything like that. Cards were getting rocked, and I think it was a little bit later than this. It was kind of in that June, July timeframe maybe. And I did a couple videos on cards holding up better than the market, and it was John Smoltz and Donnie Baseball, Ichiro, a lot of those guys. They were Bo Jackson. They were holding up really, really well while the modern card market was getting smoked. And so we may be entering. I don't know if this is a seasonal thing, but we're entering that time frame again where the vintage cards held up pretty well. I mean, he hasn't done anything for a long time. You're just kind of batting between these ranges here. So $40 to, call it a little over $100, $130, $140. And so I don't know that they break out, but I think on a relative basis, the established players that they can't do anything to hurt their legacy from here on out. Maybe they hold up a little bit better. So what happened last year, we may be heading into that season again, because a lot of those older cards are starting to hold up and starting to get a little bit of a bid, whereas a lot of the modern players, as we've seen, are trending lower. All right, our number one fallout for the week. Well, let's see. I didn't do that very well at all. Let's see if we can. I needed to do that. There, that's what I was looking for. Mike Trout. All right, 2018 Topps Chrome. I don't know why. This one. Okay, maybe why was it $167 in the first place? maybe that's the question to ask here. So, over the last year, a lot of sideways action, and then between 100, to 200. So not insignificant moves by any stretch here. 50 was kind of your low point, and then just a puke with a couple of sales here. So it's tough to say, oh wow, what a big move down. It's a buy, but if you're a Mike Trout fan? I mean, the Chrome isn't hard to gem. I mean, you've got a pretty decent population report, I think. Or 350, but it's how many of these were submitted, I guess is the question here. But is there a reason for this card to go back up? Is there that much demand to make this a $100 card? I don't know. So anyways, he's down 60% on the week. So again, a lot of those modern cards, they're getting shunned. People were playing with those. They were flipping them and all that, and that seems like that game may be coming to an end, at least for the time being. Your number one riser for the week, Mickey Mantle. So all right. Again, the cards that are rising are the ones that their legacy is kind of firmly entrenched here. Up 136% for the week here, so $700. Not sold a whole lot here, so up to $1,750. So maybe there's just not a lot of these out there, but beautiful card of an iconic player, and that's what you're looking for. So bottom range here, you are top of the range here. So maybe this is worth a sell, but maybe someone else, again, with as few people that are buying this. Would it be a big deal if someone said, I'll pay $2,000 for it? At this point here, it could certainly happen, but selling has happened here before, so your risk reward doesn't favor more upside, but who the heck knows these days. So there's your number one riser for the week. So yeah, the vintage is rising, and it looks like the modern market is cooling off just a little bit here. All right, I'll be back with you in just a second to talk about some players of the week here, and we'll start off with the pitching, and it's not going to be Huascar Winoa. We've got a couple guys that threw no-hitters. We have John Means and Wade Miley. So if you're a collector, if you're a fan of these guys, congratulations. What a great week, and it must have been a ton of fun to watch. No-hitters apparently grow on trees these days, but as far as their baseball cards, John Means is 28 years old with 5 wins to his name. He's a good pitcher for the Orioles, for their ace, and he had a terrific week last week. If you're buying into something like that, is what he did sustainable, and his long-term outlook, probably not a player you want to throw a ton in. If you're a collector, enjoy it, because that might be the peak in his cards here. Wade Miley, same thing, 34 years old with 16 wins to his name. If you're a Wade Miley collector, and if you're ever looking to get out of it, I mean, this is when you do it. But if you're just, I don't think you're ever buying Wade Miley to make a ton of money on. So again, collecting is supposed to be fun, and it doesn't get much more fun than seeing some of your players have a historic outing. So player that is of interest had a very good week, and that is Huascar Winoa, and I probably butchered that name. But he had a couple of starts last week, 2 wins, 1 earned run, and 10 strikeouts over 13 innings pitched. So he had a very good week, and he's had a very good year. Just 22 years old, and this is a player that should be interesting. You come up at 22 years old and you produce. That seems like he's ticking off a few boxes here, but a couple things that just stand out real quickly. You look at his batting average and balls in play. For hitters, 300 is kind of average. 30% of the balls that you put into play should find some grass. And it's not that different for pitchers. So he has a very low BABIP. As that BABIP rises, it means more balls are going to that are hit in play will start to find grass. And so you would look for that to rise. You look at his left on base. 90% of players that reach base stay there, which is a very, very high number. And you can see 60 to 70%. So I would look for regression. Whatever cards that are out there, if you are holding these for speculation purposes, you might want to have a somewhat of a quick trigger finger on those, because regression is likely coming for Huascar Winoa. All right, let's get into some hitters here. And your number one hitter for the week, according to my fantasy league points league, it's going to be a little bit different across leagues. I get it. Adoles Garcia, who's had a really nice year here. but he is 28 years old. A couple things that stand out for the week: 11 for 28. It was a 392 average, 4 home runs, 12 RBI. Monster week, terrific. Got him on a couple teams and made me very happy because my outfield is in shambles. But what you're looking for on these is what he's doing sustainable. And you look at a 297 average, but it's on a 350 BABIP. He's striking out 30% of the time. So his numbers on the surface look great. 161 weighted runs created. And he's got 9 home runs and he's hitting 300. Ooh, that looks awesome. But it's like, all right, he's getting a little lucky and he strikes out way too much to really make this sustainable. You look at the batted ball profile. 40% of the balls, it's either on the ground or it's in the air. 40% on the ground, 40% in the air. And his home run to fly ball rate is at an area 32% where you should likely see regression. So we'll see how that plays out here. A lot of medium hit and hard hit. So kind of all or nothing at this point. He's striking out or hitting bombs or putting it on the ground. So not again a player that I wouldn't buy into. So the first thing that stands out: 28 years old with a single WAR to his name. So again, this is more of a trading opportunity than a long-term investing opportunity. So act accordingly on that one. Giancarlo Stanton, a terrific week here. 10 for 24, 416 average, 3 home runs. And he did that in consecutive days, over 3 days, with 9 RBI. And so Giancarlo Stanton is kind of an interesting one here. He is 31 years old, but when he plays and he's healthy, and that's really the question here, he's a terrific player. And he doesn't need to be, he's like Aaron Judge. Can he play 120 games? I mean, that's kind of, if he can do that, he's an elite level player. 2015, I don't know, was this the one where he got smacked in the jaw or something like that? Still, 155 weighted runs created, 27 home runs, just amazing stuff here. And so he produces when he's healthy. The last couple of years, that has not been the case. Half a season last year and 20% of the season roughly in 2019, but this is a guy that can hit upwards of the 280 area, so it's a little elevated right now. You should probably see that batting average regress just a little bit here, but the 154 weighted runs created, guess what? He's done that over the course of his season. Look for him, if he stays healthy, to be elite. So we know where he's at here. 40 wins above replacement at age 31, and so can he put up another 20 wins? He kind of reminds me of Paul Goldschmidt. You're in Anthony Rizzo. You're in that area where you're sitting at the age 30, 32, 33, and you're on kind of a Hall of Fame consideration track. You just need to average 4 or 5 wins, not just, because that's not easy. 4 or 5 wins over the next couple of years, and that's what he do. Can he stay healthy for 5 more years and put up 4 wins per season? If he's healthy, he does that. So his PSA 10 right now is trading for like $140, and so I think it's interesting. It's speculation because what you're relying on him to be a 4 or 5 win player for the next 4 or 5 years, and that's not in the bank at all. But there's a lot of players that people are paying hundreds of dollars for that are like 23 years old and need to do 4 or 5 wins over 15 years and stay healthy and do all that kind of stuff. So I think Giancarlo Stanton versus some of those younger players, it's interesting. It's at least very, very interesting. Miggy Rojas, terrific week last week. 11 for 24 for 458 average, couple home runs, couple RBI. 32-year-old with 8 wins to his name. So that's someone, again, I think if you're speculating on him for some reason, this is where you consider unloading him. He was on fire last year for a while too, but he eventually fell off. So all right, one more player here. And that is Jordan Alvarez, who's been raking this year. And he can hit. It's just, can his knees hold up? And he's a DH. Does that hurt him? 13 for 25 for a 520 average, 3 home runs and 6 RBI. So he really had a heck of a week there, and we know that he can hit. And so this is another player, 23 years old with 5 wins to his name, that puts him firmly on the track. So I think, put this in context with Mike Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton. Can he hang around for 12 years and put up 4 wins, or between 4 and 5 wins a season? So who do you rather speculate on? And we're gonna look at a couple charts here on some of those younger players and why I think it's probably time to speculate on some of these guys. So 188. Weighted runs created, 433 BABIP, 362 average. Look for that to fall with that 25% strikeout rate. Look at the batted ball metrics real quick here. So home run to fly ball, 20%. So that's reasonable. That's there isn't anything that stands out and says, well, he can't keep hitting bombs. He has got the fly ball. The hard hit rate is really, really low. And so see if we can trade some medium hit for some hard hit. And I like his barrel rate here around 12%. So he's stinging the ball. So I would expect a lot of those hard hits to rise, but the average could come down. But I think everything else is sustainable when it comes to the home runs and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at what we're doing with some of those younger players. Like, I wanted to finish this up with Pete Alonso, who's off to a pretty nice start this year. 287 average, 250 average on 255 average on a 300 BABIP. So that's not horrible. But strikeout rate for a guy that with his power is not bad here. And people forget, last year he started off horribly, but it was a pretty good season overall. Decent eye at the plate. He is walking here, so above average or borderline elite level WRC plus here. So when we start to look at his batted ball metrics here, he's hitting the ball relatively hard, medium. He's as far as the ground ball and fly ball rate, putting the ball in the air at a decent clip here. His home run to fly ball rate is actually pretty low. He could stand to hit some more fly balls with the amount of balls in the air here. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was his plate discipline. And he's not swinging at as many balls outside the zone right now. He's swinging at more balls inside the zone, and he's making better contact with balls in the zone here. So if you liked what he was doing in 2019, I think you got to really like what he's doing here. I mean, in the home runs haven't even started to come yet here. Again, that home run to fly ball rate isn't there, but his plate discipline is actually improving here. And so Pete Alonso, I think, is a player that is getting better. And he showed it the back half of last year, and he's showing again this year. And so again, with 5.7 wins above replacement, age 26, he's got that uphill climb for Hall consideration. But I think this is firmly a player that you can put in that speculation trading basket. And when people start to realize that, like, geez, he's not having a bad season at all here, you could probably make a few bucks off of that. So all right, we're winded up with a couple charts here. All right, just 4 of these, so we'll fly through real fast and get you out of here. So Pete Alonso. Came out of the gates when his credit card started coming in the market. A lot of purchases, pretty high, but they've been a steady decline ever since. But when they get down to this, $30, $40 area, there's a decent amount of buying, and here you are again. And so, when you're looking at Pete Alonso now, one of the things like with the stock market, 70% of the direction of the market can explain the underlying move of a stock. So whether it's growth stocks, value stocks, if the trend in those is up, then that's 70% of the reason why that stock is up. So the trend in baseball cards, for the most part, is down right now, and so there's no getting around that. But he's coming into an area where I think he's extremely interesting. At least there's a lot of buying in the $30 to $40 area here. Again, he's producing at a pretty nice level. The Mets are the Mets. They're a freaking mess. And Lindor goes over there for 2 minutes, and and everyone's pissed off. It's like, what's going on over there? So discount that. But I think Alonso's having a pretty good season, and this looks like a pretty interesting spot here. It's a pretty decent decline. It's been cut in half, and so it's like, well, I mean, if you're into speculation, these are the guys that you kind of want to look at. Jordan Alvarez, same thing here. He's been trending down since coming out of the gates here. But again, in an area, just trying to creep out of that a little bit, where there's been enough interest to kind of support some buying here. And again, kind of that $30 to $40 area is where it's happening. So he's around $50, and if he can keep doing what he's doing here and snake his way back up above $70, then you're onto something here. And I think could start to go. But a lot of these players are right in the same range. Bo Bichette I talked about last week here, so kind of the same deal. He had a pretty high level, and kind of going. He's going south here, but hit an area where there's been plenty of buying before, and so you're here again. And so I think there's too much of a run here, but he's coming back to that that $60-$70 level. And I think that's a really interesting thing here. So what was it? It was just a couple days ago. Anyways, we were looking at like $60 and quickly went up to looks like 100. So that's too much too quick. But if you can get up for that $60 or $70 area, there's interest there. So again, this is kind of your support level, and a lot of those guys with the higher end pedigree seem to be hopefully bottoming out. We have like the Acuñas and those other guys that Sotos that. They've been around for a couple of years, and they also have a good pedigree, but maybe they got it too far ahead of themselves, and this price is more interesting for people. They're going to speculate on that kind of stuff. And finish up with the old guys here. So again, last year saw the vintage market really hold up well during the summer, while the modern card market not so much, and we're seeing that again here. And Roger Clemens is a card that I would like to have someday here, but just a lot of sideways action, and that hasn't changed, but it's a slight trend up here. So big pop this week. And it could go a little bit higher here. So I'm bummed that I missed this one. I just wasn't looking for it. I should have set an alert here. But yeah, those vintage cards look like, people are just going to look for the relative safety in those perhaps for a little while. So the cards I'll be looking at are not the vintage at this point. they've run a little bit too much here, although this is an area that's fair. But yeah, some of those lower priced recent guys look kind of interesting there. So I don't know. What do you see out there? Let me know. And I've taken up too much of your time. I certainly appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.